So we talk a lot about this at the school, that there's something about Lakefield that's special that you can't quite put your finger on. And we say the key is that you never stop trying to express it.
Hi, in this video you'll meet Anne-Marie Kee, who's the head of school at Lakefield College School. And in this video you'll hear her talk about the indefinable quality that draws people to the school and the community, the benefits of having a thorough, in-depth outdoor education as part of your academics, as well as how Lakefield College School goes about solving conflicts between students and between parents. So I'm here with Anne-Marie Kee, who's the head of school at Lakefield College School. Hi, Anne-Marie, how are you?
Thanks for having me. This is great. I'm fantastic.
Great. So why don't we start by you explaining 3 things that you love about your job?
Well, I'll start by saying that we are on an incredible campus. And in fact, I just came off of a paddle board where I saw a huge bald eagle. And so the fact that we have this kind of opportunity is amazing. Second, I would say we have amazing staff at the school. Currently, they've gone through a lot of additional training for remote learning. But just in general, I would say what distinguishes our staff from others is they are focused on relationships. This is a group of people who are so passionate about students that they know everything about them and go the extra mile. I constantly hear that from our parents and our students, that they can't believe everything that staff do. And the third would probably be the programs that we have at the school. We are a school that's about so much more than academics, so we really invest in arts and athletics. We've identified a few signature programs recently, Nordic skiing, because we have these amazing trails, sailing, again, because of the lake, and musical theater. So there's a lot of talent at the school, and we really celebrate that school is about more than just academics.
And for you as head of school, what are some things that you do? How do you fit in the Lakefield environment?
So I try as much as possible to be with students. So we start 4 days a week in chapel. And it's a really important part of who we are, is that time together as a community. We take time to focus on global issues in chapel. We start with some mindfulness moments. We sing. There's a lot of joy, a lot of laughter. And it's a really great time for me every single morning to say good morning to everybody, to be with them, hear what's on their mind, and kind of just get a pulse of what's happening in the community. During the coronavirus, I've spent my time on Zoom meetings like everybody, and I've had a chance to meet with all of the students a couple of times. We have a house model at the school, and so I meet with students by house. And that's something that I do throughout the year. So every fall, I spend my evenings going into the houses and having snacks with them. So I get to see them in their environment. And then with our day students, I have them into my house for cookies and chocolate milk. And then in the winter, I have all the houses through into the living room. And when I have time with them, I just ask the same questions. What's working? What's not working? And what can we do to improve? And so my time is really spent listening, as much as possible, listening to students. And it's a priority for our school. It's a real priority for me that they feel a sense of ownership. This is our school, and it's a great school because we're all committed to making it even the better, the best it can be. And we've all bought into that culture. It's not for everyone, but because we're just a tight-knit community, we say community first. It's what I do with my time.
And when you say that you spend time with the students listening to them, what do they need? What's going on? What does that mean practically for you after having those meetings with them and listening to what they have to say?
It's a great question. So we encourage the kids to hold us accountable. And so once I do the full round of houses, I put together a top 10 list, and then I'll meet with our co-head students and we sort of divvy up things like, here are the big themes, and these are things that won't change. So for example, teenagers often ask to have the Wi-Fi hours extended if they're a boarding student. And we stagger the times that we turn off the Wi-Fi at night. And we say that's our decision. It doesn't matter that you don't like that one. You can complain, but that's not your call. But then with the other ones, then we divide them up. So some of them the leadership team might take on. So for example, in my first year, we had taken away chocolate milk. And so everybody said, like, we went too extreme. And so we negotiated and we brought it back, and I can't remember, I think we have chocolate milk 2 or 3 lunches a week. Other issues the students will take on. So this year, for example, we made a real commitment to the environment. We're a school that does a lot for the environment, but the students felt like there were a number of areas that we could do even better. And so our co-head students made that their mission this year. And it was amazing. We have a program that's committed to environmental activism called LEAF, and they prepared a presentation, brought it to the leadership team so that we could do more composting and recycling in all of our 12 houses. And so that was, you know, the students raised it. We talked about it. Our students took it on and saw that one through. So it really keeps all of us on our toes, because they do have a voice. And you know, when you stand up in front of chapel, when I stand up in front of chapel and say, okay, this is what we heard, these are the things that we're going to work on, these are the things that won't change, I think it also really holds us according to our values. And we all talk about that a lot at the school. We talk about how we're not a school that's as focused on rules as we are on what it means to be a good person. What's the right thing to do? And we talk about that a lot. So with this whole student advocacy time spent, it just means that, you know, there's that list and we have to make sure that we're always coming back to it. And the students see it. So a big example is the way that our food has really improved over the years. And it was always good food, but they wanted to see more fresh fruit, more vegan options, more, you know, a variety of vegetarian meals. And our staff listened. And it just is really important to the culture when we all feel like this is a place we love and we're going to make it a great place together.
And that's great to hear that there's that connection, that dialogue between administration and students. And that's also, you know, a big part of why boarding education is of interest to a lot of people, because it breeds that kind of sense of independence. Do you find that the same sense of ownership that you feel in the Lakefield community is shared by the day students as well as the international students?
It's a great question. So I'm coming to the end of my 3rd year. And in my first year, I saw a really big divide between day students and boarding students in the younger grades. So we're a school that's only 9 to 12. And by grade 12, you couldn't tell the difference between day students and boarding students, but you could in the younger years. So one of our big initiatives, and we started it this year and we're going full on in September 2020, is with a house model. And in the past, we've had a day girls' house and a day boys' house. And they physically had space in locker rooms in the main campus. But I felt like that created a bit of a divide. And I felt like we could do more for the day students. They are here all the time, you know, in the library in the evenings. There's always something going on at this school, Friday nights, weekends. And so we wanted to just break down the obstacles that were separating the day students and the boarding students. And so with the house model now, all of the day students will have a spot in one of the 12 houses. So each house has no more than 28 students. And eventually we'll have up to 10 day students. And then that way they're going to get the benefits. We're about 45 countries on this little campus of ours. And so the more they can be integrated in together, I think that's one of the huge benefits of a boarding school education. And now more than ever, I think it's important that students have deep connections with kids from a variety of countries. The way to learn global competencies isn't sitting in a training workshop. It's when you know them and you've known them for 4 years and you've lived with them and you've been into each other's homes. Nothing makes me happier than when I see that the kids are going to each other's places on weekends or March breaks or holidays. There's a lot of that goes on. And so I think that's what we mean by authentic learning. It's real. This is about life, not just going to university.
What would you say? You said that this kind of community is not for everyone. So what kind of student wouldn't enjoy an education at Lakefield?
I mean, of course, I think everybody would benefit, but the kids that are attracted to Lakefield, I think have a bit of a sense of adventure. They like the outdoors. If they don't like the outdoors when they arrive, then they love the outdoors by the time they graduate. And we hear a lot of those stories. We also attract students who want a well-rounded education. So we do advanced placement. We offer an incredible number of academic courses. We're a member of the Global Online Academy, only one of 3 schools in Canada. So the number of courses that our students can take is amazing. But if you're only interested in academics and then you want to go home at the end of the day so you can do all of your homework, this isn't that place. You kind of are all in at Lakefield. You buy into the relationships with each other, with students, with teachers. You buy into the spirit events. You buy into, you're here on the weekends. This is your life. And yeah, I think it pulls you out of your comfort zone when you're living in this kind of an immersive environment.
It's interesting to really picture your entire life being in this location. There are the amenities, there is the culture, there are the other people around. But how do you stop that culture from being too insular and being too much in the Lakefield culture?
Yeah, it's a good question, because we are a bit of a bubble, which is great. It's very safe here. You can be whoever you want to be at Lakefield. I would say the kinds of clubs and activities that we offer ensure that we're always aware of what's happening in the rest of the world. It's a huge priority for us because we're such a diverse campus, and we're starting in chapel and just constantly remembering our privilege and remembering that we have a responsibility. So I think what our vision right now is to help teenagers, to inspire teenagers to become leaders who figure out what they care about, they connect with others. The important part is then contributing back. And I think that's where we are forcing students outside of the bubble and realizing that they have to have, they have a responsibility to give back, which means they've got to have an awareness of what's going on so that they can figure out where it is that they want to give back, whether it's all the community service that we do, we steer students a lot just naturally because of the kinds of people who work here and our environment towards environmental issues and a deep concern for the environment and others. I think when you're surrounded by such compassionate staff, that influences the students. And so they know it's not good enough to live within your own self and your own world. You've got to expand your mind and give back.
And how do you approach solving student conflicts with each other?
So we have a really interesting process here. And I don't know if there are other schools that do it. Certainly, I've, in my previous job, have been in probably 140 independent schools, the top independent schools around the world. And I chose Lakefield for my own kids, and I chose to come back and work here, in part because of the influence that students have here, including on student discipline. So like all schools, we have, head students, but we have 2 students who work quite closely with our assistant head of school life on all standards issues. And they are around the table making the decisions. We live according to our school life guide, but our students are very much part of figuring out the peer review process and what the consequences of actions will be. And we're a community then that holds each other accountable to those high standards. And I think that it's a safe community in part because students are sometimes harder on each other than adults are. And they take that job really seriously. So it's another way, I guess. One of our strategic priorities is authentic learning, and having students given that kind of responsibility, it's real. And they take it seriously and do a great job.
And can you tell me a little bit about the kinds of families that are drawn to Lakefield College School?
So one of our alumni who spoke in chapel a couple of years ago said that Lakefield is the least pretentious school in the country. And he pointed at the students and said, and it's your job to keep it that way. So the fact that we are an outdoors kind of school, I've just come in off the water, it attracts sort of that mentality, and the families are very down to earth, very committed to our community, to community in general. I bet you there's a high number of our families who have also spent time at camp. And there's a real link between, in fact, our kids call Lakefield, Camp Lakefield in the spring. And so that's a kind of person who loves the outdoors and loves people and loves learning.
And is that the same for day students as well as boarding students?
Yeah, so it's a really selective admissions process, and because it's so important to us that our students are aligned with the values of the school. So, at Lakefield, you're going to be camping during 3 seasons. You're going to be, the whole school goes skiing for a day. Everyone's out, running, or doing Gladiator Day is a big day when there are all these water events and they're out on the lake. And it's required for all students to take outdoor education in grade 9. And it just means that, wherever you come from, people are often choosing our school because of the campus and because of the belief in the benefits of nature and being outdoors and engaged.
And a similar question, how do you address parent conflicts?
So because we have a house model, all our advisors are also tied into the house model. And I would say our parents really understand that first point of contact is with their son or daughter's advisor. And those relationships are tight. They start right in grade 9 when you arrive. We have time for the parents from the houses to meet each other. And so I don't want to say we have no conflict, but I think because we establish relationships early on and they're real, and we have a value here where we believe that we're co-parenting with students and parents and our staff. And when you establish those relationships, good relationships early on, when things go bad, the relationship's already there, and we talk through it. We don't avoid conflict at the school. We'll have difficult conversations. And I think there's just a lot of trust within our community. We're a little bit different.
And how would you describe that difference in your own words?
So we talk a lot about this at the school, that there's something about Lakefield that's special that you can't quite put your finger on. And we say the key is that you never stop trying to express it. So I'll completely avoid your question by saying we can't describe it. You have to be here. It's a feeling. You see it in the way that kids are so inspirational and so resilient, and the staff just keep digging deeper and coming up with more creative ways to connect with kids and to teach. And there's a passion here. But there's something like, what people come back to this school and they connect with people, they connect with place, and there's something very spiritual here. There's a deep commitment to mind, body, and spirit. And I don't know, the name Lakefield is often referred to as the Grove. And we've been talking a lot lately about, like, it's our roots. It's just, there's something here that sticks with you for the rest of your life and changes who you are. Our alumni are incredible, and a passion of theirs is not so much to give to buildings, it's to give to financial aid. And so we have a large endowment at the school and a really deep commitment to making our school as accessible as possible. It's expensive, for sure, it's expensive. But because we're so fortunate to have had alumni and continue to have alumni and parents who give us this help, we can have a really high number of students here on financial aid, so that if we have a great student come to us, our goal is to admit great students regardless of their family's economic status. It's important to us. And I think when we're trying to then put our finger on what makes this school special, it's all of these things.
And what question do you most often get from parents who are in the middle of their private school search?
Well, I think it's hard for parents to imagine sending their child away. And so I think that parents today are really struggling with this concept of their babies going away to Canada or to little town of Lakefield. And I see it. And as a mom, I felt it. And I felt a little bit shamed that, our son was living in boarding school and not with us. And I think that parents have to come to terms with the fact that it's a gift that you're giving to your kids for them to spend their teenage years at Lakefield. And there's an expression that I love, let's see if I can get it right, that as parents, our job is to give kids roots and wings, and the roots are the easy part. And so I think I watch parents, I see if kids are on campus, they fall in love. The people are smiling, they genuinely are welcoming them. I remember when we toured the school with our son Jacob, somebody ran up to Jacob and said, "Oh, I really hope you come here." And that wasn't part of the sales pitch or the marketing, or nobody told that boy to come up to my son. And that genuine love for the place is what attracted my kids to the school. And so it's really the parents and helping them get over that hump of, gosh, like, could I really do this? Could I really send my son or daughter away? And so I would say that's however that question gets formed, that's what they're wondering.
Are there any red flags that you think parents should look out for?
I think finding a school is about fit, and you want to visit a bunch of schools, get on campus, talk to as many people as possible, meet the head of school, because I think what we know is that you can get a credit anywhere. You can, like, that's not the issue. You want to get a sense of the culture. You want to get a sense of, is this real? Like, get past the marketing and see if this feels right for your kids and for your family. And I think you've got to take time to make these decisions.
And are there any changes coming up at Lakefield College School that you think parents should know about?
Well, one of the interesting things that we're talking about right now is the school year is September to June. And the crazy thing about our school is that it's beautiful in July and August. So we have just made a commitment to make our campus our priority. And so starting next summer, 2021, we're going to open up the school and make it optional for students and staff to continue their studies through the summer. And so I think that's the kind of, we're just excited about that. We're excited for offering teenagers a more flexible learning environment. So you could take math and then go for a sail, or go for a stand-up paddleboard and see an eagle. And so that's something that's big and shifting. The other thing I'll add is I think we're seeing an increase in an increased interest for mental health support. And it's top of mind for me as we're launching a health and wellness initiative. And we have so many programs here. We're committed to positive psychology, positive education. We're committed to the outdoors. We're committed to, we have a Thrive program. So our teachers have been trained in all kinds of character education and leadership programs. But we're going to do a big review because we just think schools can't do that well enough. And how can we best support teenagers through a really tough time? And our world is in a tough place right now, especially. And post pandemic, when they get off their screens, and the fear that comes with all of the protests and the racism. And I think as teenagers are trying to find their place in all of that, and how can they contribute to making the world a better place? How can they feel safe? And how can you hold two things together, the anxiety that you're feeling, that tension and worry about the world, but also, of course, you have moments of joy and happiness and connectivity. And I think schools like ours and all good schools are really thinking through that piece for what is it that students are going to need beyond academics and beyond, just that it's more complicated. And I think we're doing a lot to try to research and be really great for teenagers.